Hi, good morning. It's David Rizzo with Rogers Gardens, and happy February. We're in February now, and so today we're doing checklist for February. So I'll go through what we're planting right now. I'm not really talking so strongly on how to plant it. I'm just saying what to plant or what to plant it. And so this time of year, and so it's been a really interesting year. We've gotten a lot of rain. February is a really interesting month. We start coming out of winter and going into spring, but we're not quite out of winter, but we're not quite into spring yet. So the night temperatures will still run in the 40s on the coast, and then 30s and sometimes freezing inland. We might bounce around and get a few rainstorms here and there, but we're gradually coming out of winter into spring. And one of the biggest changes you'll see is the lengthening days. And so right now we're I think sunsets at like 5:30, a little bit more each week. So yeah, so February is one of my favorite months because we're on that transition. We're really starting to wind out of winter, going into spring. And I wanted to do a little plug with Tomato Mania. Tomato Mania is coming up March 3rd to the 12th. You can go online and pre-order a lot of the varieties, and so this is one of our big events of the year for tomatoes, and it really is the start of tomato season, and we'll have some really good varieties. We'll have heirlooms, we'll have dwarfs, we'll have cherry tomatoes, and so, but you can definitely go online and pre-order. And a shameless plug is I'll be bringing my tomatoes in this year, and my tomatoes, they go under Rizzo's Tomatoes, and I'll have them ready more into later into March, almost April. And I'm tinkering with some dwarfs this year, so you'll see some of my varieties. And last year I think I sold Rogers like 45 flats. This year I'm going to try to do about 90 to 100 flats. So come in and see me, and I'll tell you about tomatoes, and definitely Tomato Mania, big event. So let's get started on the checklist. Let me actually put this back. I don't want to drop it. So let's get started on the checklist. And so right now, I still will do, and I'm going to start off with vegetables, then I'm going to go with flowers, and well, like more vegetables and herbs, and then flowers. And you guys can hold your questions at the end, and then I'll answer your questions. But right now, I still try to get another winter crop in of stuff. So I'm still planting lettuce. Like I got some really good gourmet lettuce that I'm getting in. So like the gourmet lettuce. Romaine, so you can do your romaine. Romaine's coming in. All the leaf lettuce is, and this is like the plant of the month. So lettuce, if you come in and you buy two, you get one free. So if you buy 2 color packs, which is 6 of them, you'll get one free. So that's a good program to take advantage of. You got Nevada. So all the greens, and all the greens are actually on sale. So the lettuce is on sale, the arugula, I brought in some rocket. So arugula loves the cool weather. Arugula is just like cilantro. I don't know where I put the, okay. Even though they're more into herbs, they don't like the hot weather, so they love it when it's cool. So keep planting your oregano and your arugula and your cilantro. And so greens definitely plant right now. And even like you can get a crop in. This is Romanesco. So this is like the Braca flower, or it really is like a green cauliflower. So you can still do another, because you really got about 60, 70 days before we really warm up. So even like the kale, like this is one of the red Russian kales. So red Russian kale is really good. You can do chard. The Swiss chard is so good. I like the bright lights because you get a mixture of the yellows and the golds and the whites. So love that. Did I have anything else? Oh, broccoli and broccoli and cabbage. So broccoli and cabbage, definitely want to plant right now. And then I always talk about seeds too. You can do peas. These are your edible peas. One of my favorites, the Oregon Pod 2. Oh, I love this. So it's more of a snow pea, but it's so tender and really good. If you like the sugar snaps, you could do the sugar snaps. Sugar snaps are really good. I still do a lot of the seeds. One of my favorite lettuce mixes, gourmet mix. One thing I really like about this has gourmet, like more with the gourmet greens in it. Like I love the royal oak leaf, and this always has that lettuce in there that I like. And even one of my favorites too is to do all your carrots and your root crops from seed. I don't buy transplants. So These are scarlet nanities, really good carrot. I got more scarlet nanities, Daniver longs, and so definitely don't buy your carrots from transplants. Start the seeds, and the crucial thing when you are starting seeds with carrots, don't plant them really deep. Plant them about a quarter of an inch deep, not that deep. Little seeds you want to keep higher up into the soil. And you can do all your beets, like your early wonder. You can do your heirlooms. You can do Merlin. There's a whole bunch of them. So I love roasted beets. Your radishes, your little cherry bells. Now these are going to be more spicy. So if you like sweeter beets, do the French breakfast. French breakfasts are good. Spinach. I still do spinach from seed. And so another thing that I will talk about too is you can start doing your tomatoes from seeds, but I usually wait till mid this month. So I tend to grow my tomatoes later because I like to have it a little warmer at night. So I do start my seeds about February 15th. And this is one of my favorite companies. This is Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. I love this company because the germination rates are so good. So I pulled Mortgage Lifter, Abraham Lincoln, Granny Cantrell's, larger slicing heirlooms. I like them for cutting, or for slicing. And if you're not doing that many, you can always do a seed starter mix and just get the little jiffy strips. And what I do is I usually put like 1 or 2 seeds in each really little cell and just water them good. And a lot of times I'll do them in my greenhouse, but you can start them inside, get them to germinate, but put them outside during the day to get more sun, and then bring them in at night to keep them warmer. So that's important for the vegetables. And then going into the herbs, so you can, herbs, I always think of this time of year more of the perennial herbs. So you're doing like, let's see if I got it, where did I do? Parsley, you know, one of my favorite parsleys, this is called Giant Italy. This is a large flat leaf variety. Love this variety, good fragrance. You can do Chervil is a good one right now. English thyme is your regular thyme. Your cooking sages, like your chef's choice, that's a good one. You can do Spice Island rosemary. This is a really good thyme called pizza thyme. So another variation of thyme. One of my favorite oreganos, Mexican oregano. I love to put this on pizzas, and that's a really good one. So now you can still, another one is your Moroccan, your Moroccan mint. So with this mint, don't put it in the ground. I'll get a little terracotta pot, maybe a little 12-inch terracotta pot, put one plant in there, and I'll just use the Malibu potting soil. That's good potting soil. And because you don't want to put this in the ground because mint has runners and it will take over your whole garden. So don't put mint in the ground, only put it in pots. And more arugula like I was talking about. And so that's one thing, your perennial herbs. So you can do cilantro right now. I wait till it to warm up a little bit more for dill and basil. Like I'll wait until like next month before I really start planting that because they don't like cold nights. And so that's with your herbs we're planting. And with flowers, with color, we're on a transition. So we're starting to come out away from the winter annuals and we're going more into the spring annuals, so early spring. So these sort of bridge the gap between late winter and early spring. So I like the anemones, like these Mona Lisa anemones. There's a purple, and you got pink, and you got a really good white. And I love these because they'll bloom for the next 2 months, and then they'll give you good color. And then we'll go into more of the main spring types of flowers. You even have the little Cinettii. This is a white Cinettii that's good. We sell bigger varieties. I love English primrose too. English primrose are great because if you plant them now, they'll go into spring. They'll give you usually February, March, and even into April. And then when we get really hot, they'll start fading out. But great bloomers. So I love the English primrose and the primulas. And there's nemesias. Nemesias are really good. Nemesias are actually a short-lived perennial, but sometimes I treat them like an annual. I'll let them bloom for 3 or 4 months, and if they fade out, then I'll replace them. Another thing I'm gonna have to grab, sorry, I'm coming out of the screen, but ranunculus. So these are the ranunculus you can be planting right now, and again, they'll give you really good color February, March, into April. And so you keep deadheading them, but love ranunculus. Ranunculus almost look like a little mini rose, like almost like an English rose. So they come in a very amount of colors. So love the ranunculus. So that's with some of the flowers, and you can always still plant some of the perennials. We're just going into more of the perennials, so we're going to see more salvias come in. So we're just at that start of the season. Another thing too, shifting gears, sweet peas. So you want to get your flowering sweet peas in now. So this is one really good white variety called White Supreme. Sweet peas, the two big things that I always find growing sweet peas is they want really good sun, full sun, 6 to 8 hours. They need a trellis or something to climb on. One thing I always find though with sweet peas, their tendrils are so small that even a regular trellis, if it's bigger than the size of a pencil, they can't climb it because their tendrils are so little. So what I do is I just take the bird netting, which this is the Ross bird netting, 7 by 21, and I'll just string it, I'll zip tie it, and then I'll bring it down and pull it tight and zip tie it. That way they can climb this, because this is just like really fine mesh. So that's important with sweet peas. Fertilizing, I do like to fertilize with an organic. So a lot of times with sweet peas, I'll just take like a rose fertilizer and I'll mix in rose fertilizer with my Malibu compost, my worm castings, and I'll get that soil really rich. But usually this should give them enough nutrients through the season. If you're doing them in a container, you can take an obelisk or even an old tomato cage, wrap it with bird netting, and then they'll climb that. So a lot of nutrient, not too much with the nutrients though. I know some people like to use the liquid fertilizers. You can, but do the liquid fertilizers about every 6 weeks or so. Don't go every like 3, because you might pump them with too much nitrogen and then you'll get a bunch of green growth, or it will sacrifice the flowers. And with sweet peas, they're day length sensitive. So as the days get longer, that triggers them to flower. So right now you want to get them in, you want to get them growing through February into March, and then by mid-March, late March, they'll start blooming. But you want to get them in now because they're just going to push their growth. They're not going to actually flower until we really go into daylight savings. And some of the other varieties that I like, Jack-o'-lantern is a really good one of my favorites. I love John Gray is another really good one. I think John Gray is more lavender with a little bit of white, like Coupanii is a really good. Mary Priestley is another good white. And the one thing with a lot of these varieties, they're Spencer types, and Spencer types are known for being very fragrant, longer stem cutting varieties. And what's this one right here? Oh, this is Mr. P. There's a lot of really good ones that we got in. We just got 70 flats last week. So there's another one, Blue Wonder is a good one. Sir Jimmy Shand is a good one. Sally Meadland, Mrs. Bernard Jones, there's a whole bunch of them. So come in and check them out, but get them in. Don't wait too long, because if you wait too long with sweet peas, you won't get the height out of them. So they'll be blooming at a foot tall. You want to try to get them to grow at least 3 to 4 feet tall, because you'll get more flowers out of them. So that's with the sweet peas. So that's sweet peas. Another thing that we're going into is bulbs. So I got so much stuff to cover. Actually, I'm going to take some of this stuff down because I got too much stuff on the table. Okay, let's put the basket up here. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
So now's the time with bulbs. So we're really done with the spring bulbs you plant in fall. So spring bulbs you plant like September, October, and those are like the ranunculus and all those to bloom now. Now we're going into the summer bulbs. So now favorite time is with the dahlias. So we're getting in our dahlia tubers, and so the dahlias are coming in. So the dahlias, I buy them right now because we have the best selection. I hold them until next month and I plant them next month, but you got to get them now because we go through and we might have, I think we have probably about 25, 30 colors right now. I like the decorative dahlias. They're going to be a medium-sized flower, about 4 to 6 inches wide. This is decorative, and so love the dahlias. So plant those right now. We got dinner plates. Some really neat ones are the little border types. Like this is a variety called Dark Angel. Some of these will start blooming as early as June, and they'll go through June, July, August, September, October. So love dahlias. And then when they're finished in fall, just cut them back and fertilize them a little bit. You have different forms, like this is a cactus form, sort of. Like this is a dinner plate type. Dinner plates are good. They'll get about 10 to 12 inches wide, the flower. You want to stake them. You want to stake them because they'll get heavy and they'll fall forward. But when you do stake them, I take bamboo stakes and stake them. You don't want to puncture the bulb because sometimes it will rot, or the tuber. So another trick that I do, you can buy little miniature tomato cages and put little mini tomato cages over, and then plant one. And then what that will do is the plant will come up, the bulb will come up through it, but it will hold it from the stems breaking because they have very weak stems. So that's with the dahlias. So buy them now, and then you have your best selection, and then you hold them over and plant them in March. So we're getting in, one of my favorites. So this is Amaryllis belladonna. So Amaryllis belladonna, they sometimes get the common name of naked lady because they leaf out in spring, the leaves die off in summer, and in fall they send up little spikes that bloom. But I love the belladonna. So Amaryllis belladonna lily, you get one in here, and great for planting in the yard, and they'll naturalize because I love bulbs that don't need chill, that are for our climate. So I love the lilies, I love some of the dahlias, I love the belladonna amaryllis. So good one to put in right now for naturalizing. Gladiolas too. Gladiolas are great for cut flowers and for a cutting garden, getting in the glads. What do we got? We got more of the Ajax lilies. Let me hold it up so you can see it. Ajax lilies are good. We're starting to get in more of the trailing begonias too. These are like the pendulata. So these are the tuberous begonias, but these are the trailing ones. And these are really good, like the little picote types. And they're good. You can put these in a hanging basket in partial sun. But again, buy them now. Best selection, plant them in March. And what else do I have? I didn't talk about potatoes. I love growing potatoes, and so our seed potatoes came in. Let me take one out of the box and I'll show you. They're just little baby potatoes. See, there's just one right here. It's hard to see, but you can see the eyelets. So what you can do, you can actually take them, you can put them on your windowsill or where it's sunny, and you can get the eyelets to come out. And once the eyelets start popping, that's when you plant them. The trick with potatoes is you want to put them deeper. What I usually do is I take a 15-gallon container, I put half Malibu potting soil in, I put about 6 in the container, and I backfill with soil. Because as that stem goes longer, let me just take one out and I'll show you. But so as they produce their little eyelets, the eyelet will produce a long stem, and then that's where your potatoes will grow right off that stem. So it's important to bury them deep. If I bury them really shallow, I might get 1 or 2 potatoes. So put them in a pot. If you don't have ground, if you're in the ground, try to put them about 6 to 8 inches deep. That way that stem will go to the surface. And potatoes usually will grow for about 3 to 4 months, and then by the time it goes more into summer, they'll die out, and that's when you harvest them. When you harvest them, you want to let them dry out a little bit, or you can lightly brush them off, but you want to let the skin sort of cure on them. And sometimes I will do that in some people do it on the soil. I do it in a little bit of shade because sometimes they'll turn green, and green stem potatoes can have a toxicity to them. So I always pick my favorites. So these are my 2 favorites. So Purple Majesty, I love this potato. Very high in antioxidants and very good potato flavor-wise. I made hash browns out of it once, and my roommate was like, "What is that?" So another one I like is the German Butterball. That's a good one. I don't think we got Yukon Golds, but that's another really good one. We got another red one that I didn't bring up that one of my customers, Jennifer, gave me called Norland. So Norland Red, some of the little red potatoes are really good. So put those in the ground, get those going, and that's with your bulbs. Another thing too that I really like planting, strawberries. So we got our bare root strawberries in, and I'm going to open a bag because I want to show you. This is one of my favorite varieties right here. I'll just show you the front. This is called Seascape. Now with growing strawberries, we're coming into our bare root season, and bare root season, always want to plant them in January and February. So you got to get going, you got to plant them right now, and I'm going to plant some before it rains tomorrow. We're getting some rain tomorrow. But I do like the ever-bearing strawberries, and with strawberries, they're day length sensitive also. So as the days get longer, they start producing, but the ever-bearing types will keep on producing into summer. Where you get into like the sequoia, sequoia is considered a June bearing type. And June bearing types, as the days get longer in June, they'll fruit in June, but as they go into July, they'll stop. So you can always plant a mixture of them, like the seascape, the sequoia, and Chandler. Now, the one thing that's interesting with Chandler, Chandler actually is a June bearing type, but it acts more like an ever-bearing type. But my two favorites, I love Seascape and I love Chandler. I've grown a lot of different other varieties of strawberries and I've had okay luck with them, but I always used to plant bare roots of Seascapes, and I do want to take one out and just show you what they look like. And so you're just going to get the little bare root start, and these have been growing in the ground. And so nice little bare root start. What I always do when I plant it, I like to flare out the roots. So I push it down. Like, I don't want the roots going like this. So what I do is I'll literally just spread those roots out and push it down so it's flat. I want those roots flat, and I don't want to come too high up on this collar. I'll come about to maybe about here. If you come any higher, you're going to rot this growing point out. And with planting them too, they're going to take off pretty quick now that we've had enough water, enough rain. I pick a lot of the flowers off, and I don't really let them set their fruit until probably about July. So another thing, but yeah, nice little starts though, really healthy crown. That's what I'm looking for, nice little healthy crowns. And these are ready to go, and so they'll give you fruit by July, August. So good one. So put your bare roots in. I think they're 15 to a bag, and they're $6.99 for 15 bare roots. So definitely your strawberries in. I will use like a just general purpose fertilizer. Always put my compost in. Always put everything in and get it ready, and then I'll fertilize with the down to earth all purpose. So this is the one I like using. So use that on all my veggies, tomatoes, peppers, all the vegetable garden gets all purpose. I like it because it's high in phosphorus. It's a 462. Good fertilizer, one of my favorites. So moving on, I'm gonna breeze through probably the natives. So I'm gonna go through the California natives really quick. Let's take some of this stuff down. We can just put it all in the box, because I'm gonna put some of the natives up here. Now that we're getting enough rain, a lot of your California natives like to be planted in the wintertime coinciding with the winter rains. So it's really important to start putting them in this time of year, because they'll get a good root system and they'll establish. So I'm going to put a couple of them up here and grab them. But I always pull my favorites. You know, that's the thing with me. I pull some of my favorites. And so a long time ago, I got into putting in California natives. One of my friends worked for Native Sons, and so he got me started into natives. And I do like, let's ceanothus, love ceanothus. So ceanothus, they're going to spring bloom, so they're coming into the bloom. Which one is this? This looks like a lower variety. This is Joyce Coulter. So now this will still get big, 8 to 12 feet, so large variety. A lot of different varieties of them. You have Yankee Point. You have Caramel Creeper that are low, really good for hillsides and full sun, and just a good all-around plant. So love the ceanothus. Another one that I love, I like the monkey flower. Brought up a yellow and a pink. So this is Mimulus, the sticky monkey flower. Love the monkey flowers because you'll get good color out of them. This is a yellow, this is sort of a salmon-y pink. With monkey flowers though, with any natives like a sunny, warm location. They like well-drained soil. They like gritty soil, and they don't like as much water as a traditional type of garden or planting. So when you do plant them, be very moderate with the water. Don't water them too much, because I always see people struggling with California natives, and some of them do go dormant in the summertime, and you back way off in the summer. So some of the mallows, another one of my all-time favorites, I love the Manila poppies. My friends always tease me like, why do you like that plant? It gets huge. Where yes, they can get 10 to 12 feet tall, but the flower is huge on them. They're great for the bees. So Rhamni culturi, Manila poppy. Love this plant. And they do spread by rhizomes, but this is one of those plants that doesn't establish good when you plant it in the summertime, because winter they establish their roots better because we're cold and we're getting rain. So this is great. Put them in. Put your Manila poppies in right now. Another group of plants that I love the Arctostaphylos, the manzanitas. It's a huge family of plants. Which one is this that I grabbed? This one is Bird Hill. So Bird Hill is a bigger variety. I think it gets about 6 to 8 feet tall. Another one, planted right now, gritty soil, but not too wet. You don't want to keep it too wet. Here's another ceanothus. Yeah, this is Yankee Point, good variety. But that's the main thing with a lot of these. They like to be planted with plants that are moderate water. So very moderate with the water. So get your natives in. Don't wait. You know, I always like December, January, February. Get them in now. Don't wait until March or April. So that's one. Another one. A couple things I want to touch on really quick. I don't want to be too long. We got in a good shipment of citrus. So citrus are coming in. So I got a good shipment of citrus, and so this is one of my favorite oranges. I'm going to take down some of the natives. Favorite orange. I love this orange. This is an orange that came out of Venezuela. It's Cara Cara. I love this orange. So good shipment of citrus. A lot of people are always very confused about the quarantines. And so the quarantine is this. In quarantine areas, the nurseries can't sell the citrus, but you can always buy citrus in a non-quarantine area. Like we're not in a quarantine area, and you can bring it back, but you want to make sure it has that tag and that serial number. So that shows that this plant has been checked for the virus they're having trouble with, and it's virus free. So that's important to keep that label on there. But the one thing is, you really, once you do bring it home, you can't move them around either. This is really serious, and even with the Department of Agriculture. So when you bring this home and you plant it, it's in your yard. You're not moving it. You're not. So that's important with to control any virus. But so we got some good Meyer lemons in. I got Cara Cara, and another one that I really love. I love the blood oranges. So this is Mora blood orange, semi-dwarf. So love the blood oranges. So another really good one. So now is the time. Plant them, feed them. If you have citrus growing in the ground though, you really want to feed them right now. Let me show you. I'll use the down-to-earth citrus food. So reason why I'm using the citrus food is citrus food always has more minerals. With your citrus, they want a good amount of sulfur, they want iron, they want zinc, and even you can always put a little Epsom salts for the magnesium. So important to, if you haven't fed them yet, feed them. So that's good, that's important. So that's with the citrus. You can still go through and plant all your other stuff like blueberries you can put in right now. Do the dwarfs. I love like Sunshine Blue, Bountiful Blue. I think I had some over here. One thing I love about the dwarfs are self-fertile, so they don't need a pollinator, but since they stay smaller, they really do load up. And with blueberries, you always want to keep them more acidic. So you can put them in a pot, you can put them in the ground, but if you put them in the ground, make sure you don't overwater them. I sometimes like to keep them in raised vegetable gardens or in containers like terracotta pots. With fertilizing them, I use cottonseed meal. You can use an acid fertilizer. I love using cottonseed meal. Cottonseed meal is a byproduct of the cotton industry. They take the shells of the cotton and they grind it into a meal, and it's very acidic, but blueberries love the acidity. So they're gonna bloom right now. They're gonna start ripening their fruit in June, and June is when sometimes I'll light trim the dead growth off them so they reflesh. And then you don't wanna trim them until next year because they'll bloom off of that new growth in early spring again. So that's with blueberries. Another quick thing that I'll talk about, two things. I love going into seeing like a lot of the Proteas bloom. So we're getting a lot of Proteas right now. So I'll show you some of my favorites and then we'll finish up and ask questions. I love Proteas. Protea is a huge family of plants. One of my favorites, it's gonna be blooming soon, is Leucospermums. And Leucospermums get these large orange or yellow flowers. Love Leucospermums. I love the leucadendrons. The leucadendrons actually don't bloom, but they get the red foliage. They start coloring up. Another one that I really like that is another favorite, I love grevilleas. So grevilleas are in the family of Proteas. And so grevilleas are great bloomers. And Nice little pink flowers. They can be shrubs, they can be tall, so love grevilleas. And one thing, when you're growing a lot of these Proteas, they don't really need a lot of water, so always be more moderate with the water. Full sun, moderate with the water. And another thing, when you're growing these, you can use cottonseed meal on them. What did I do with the cottonseed? Oh, you can fertilize them with cottonseed meal, but you want to make sure that phosphorus is really low, because a lot of times higher phosphorus can be a toxicity to these Proteas. So don't use a high phosphorus, use a low. So they recommend cottonseed meal on them for the acidity. And so that's it for the Proteas. We're starting to get in a lot of our maples. So our Japanese maples came in. One of my favorite varieties. This is a coral bark maple, 10 to 12 feet tall. They'll leaf out as we go into spring, and these get a really bright chartreuse leaf, almost like an apple green leaf. Love the maples. Maples love to grow on partial sun. They don't get really big. They can be dwarfs, 6 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, but don't put them in a lot of hot afternoon sun. And make sure if you put them in pots or put them in the ground, don't overwater them. They're very sensitive if they have too much water. You want consistent water, but not overwater. Very important with maples, and it's better to plant them right now to get them established before we get hot. Okay, and then let me talk a little bit about roses, and then we'll finish. So now is the time to get all your early season roses in. So these early season roses are basically potted up bare roots. And so even with bare roots or early season like these, January and February is the month you want to put them in. And with your roses that you cut back, you want to feed them with an organic rose food like the Down to Earth and Epsom salts. Very important. So get all your early season bare roses in now. Don't wait until March. Now's the time to do it. Okay, and I think that's it for today. Finishing up, you can ask me the questions now if you have any questions about what I've covered.
So one question asked, how do you keep the dahlia bulbs from rotting in the ground?
She's asking, how do I keep the dahlia bulbs from rotting in the ground? I'm really watchful of the water. I can always go through and try to break up the soil and use a little cactus mix and use a little bit of pumice, but make sure that you are putting them in full sun, loosen the soil, and look at the frequency of the water, because I still see people right now with their irrigation on. We've had so much rain this year that I always tell people, turn your irrigation off. Don't have your irrigation on right now, turn it off. I haven't had my irrigation on since November. So I haven't even watered my vegetable garden for 3 months because it's been so wet. We've been getting some really good storms, and they come in and the rain has been so slow and consistent, it really has been saturating the soil. So that's very important with the soil right now with the higher moisture levels. Turn the irrigation off. Don't run the irrigation. Okay.
How much Epsom salt should I put in the roses in the containers,
or
lemons in the containers?
She's asking, when you're using Epsom salts in the containers or in the ground, I use about a half a handful, which might be like a quarter of a cup, because Epsom salts is a salt, so you want to work it in really good and water it really good so it breaks down.
And why do you use Epsom salts for roses?
We use Epsom salts for roses because Epsom salts is a really good source of magnesium. Magnesium helps roses. There's a term called basal breaks or basal breaking, and basal breaking is where branches actually come off the plant. So higher magnesium levels, it's a very important component to roses. So good source of magnesium. Yeah. Okay. This is Dave Rizzo. Thank you for joining me today. And if you have any questions, come in and see me. Because like I was telling you earlier, love February with the tomatoes. So get out there gardening. Have a great day and happy gardening.